We did a different thing. We downloaded all the abstracts for all the funded grants from 5 different agencies in the United States, did the same analysis, and found not plagiarism or duplicate publication, but duplicate grants for the same specific aims. It was published in here, which also turned out to be controversial because anytime you talk about money, then it really is a problem. So what we've done recently is that we've started downloading all the abstracts from a variety of national and international meetings, and it's going into a database that here's the address that everybody can go and look at and use and explore. It's got a bunch of different capability doing it. It currently has 63 conferences, 207 meetings across these 63 conferences, and there's about 145,000 abstracts in there so far. I'm going to show you some of what we've learned from that so far. So in here, here's the conference. Some of the conferences have 12 years, a lot of abstracts, so we could do longitudinal studies. Many of the conferences have several years, and so I'm going to show you some of the results of that. So what can you learn once you've analyzed all these conference abstracts to find out various ethical, questionable ethical things? Well, let's see, there. Okay, so if this, I'm actually here analyzing several thousand, 5,000 or so abstracts in the the big cancer meeting in America. And you can see here that the similarity is often very low between them and anything in Medline, but there's, for those abstracts which have high similarity to something in Medline, well, it could be the fact that they simply published that in Medline and now they're reporting it at a meeting, but it could be that something could be a potential plagiarism. So we can identify from studies like this possible plagiarized abstracts at scientific meetings from Medline. We can also determine how fresh the results are. In general, at meetings, you're expected to be reporting recent results, not results that are 5 or 10 years old. However, this kind of analysis can show and identify those occurrences where people are actually reporting in meetings stuff that they did years and years ago. If you compare all the abstracts in the meeting to themselves, you can identify errors in submission where people have, say, uploaded 5 different copies of their abstract, simply correcting spelling errors and things like that. But nonetheless, these often get reviewed and put into several different sessions and things like that and have to be resolved. But that's a small number of cases, but you can identify those. And the big thing is you can identify and quantify the amount of salami slice abstracts, because all the things that are similar to one another but yet have a small shift can be considered possible salami slice. If you actually compare a meeting abstracts to all the abstracts in previous years, you can identify potential plagiarisms where somebody's taken something from somebody else's previous year's abstracts, which happens. Or you can identify and quantify highly similar abstracts submitted by the authors previously. And of course, are they updates, or which would be okay if they're significant, but what if they're not? So I'm going to show you some examples here. So here's something from the Society of Thoracic Surgeons. In general, if you look at, say, 2018 against itself, you generally see that there is a lot of similarity, which in here is just because we all use similar English words. But you see this bump out here in the tail, which is something that's very interesting. So basically, we draw a line here at 70% similarity, and then evaluate everything above that by eye, okay? So in this particular case, out of 562 abstracts, 117 were above 70%. We found 3 potential plagiarisms. Note that I don't say that they're plagiarisms, but you can make a determination on your own. But my lawyers have continuously warned me for years that I can't say plagiarism because I'm not an editor or a person who is at a committee looking at ethics problems, something like that. I'm simply a data person. However, if you see sentences like this, an association between symmetric VAV phenotypes and the pattern of valvular dysfunction and bicuspid, And then this was from Medline, and then over here you can see an association between BAV phenotypes and the pattern of valvular dysfunction, bicuspid, etc. So this is a meeting abstract whose authors, I'm not disclosing here, are not the same authors as from this paper, and this paper is 2 years older than this abstract. They're from different countries, different institutions, different authors. And you know, they have other areas that are similar, and also even things like the number of samples and things often like that are similar, so it's highly suspect that it would be the P word. Okay, here's one from the pathology conference, where these are the abstracts from the same individual, one in 2014, another in 2017. They're 90%, 97% similar. They're actually really identical. So, and then this is just one case, but it turns out this person has been submitting the same abstract and presenting it for 5 years. Okay, is that okay? I don't know, but it's in the database and you can study it. Okay. Then there are potential salami slicing examples. Here is a thyroid association meeting, 75% similarity between the abstracts at the same meeting. But if you look here, you'll see things like the aim of the study is to evaluate whether ultrasonography guided core, and over here you can say the aim of the study was to evaluate whether ultrasonography guided core needle biopsy. So by the way, all the authors on these two papers are the same, except for the first author on those papers are shifted. And actually, if you look at what they found, it really is the same thing. They're using slightly different words and maybe finding slightly different things. So it is a potential to be, again, salami sliced. So what are the conclusions here? When we look at all these things, we're working on a manuscript right now on this, but basically about 0.5% are potential plagiarisms, 1% are salami sliced, 1% are old findings, whether they're old in that they've been in Medline for over 2 years, or they're old that they were presented in a previous year. And then there's a whole bunch of errors and other things where there's highly similar stuff which are inconsequential from a research integrity standpoint, and that's about 1%. So conclusions, researchers disseminate their scientific findings really in 2 ways: through peer-reviewed publications, which this group has looked at and studied and knows a lot about, but they also do it through presentation at scientific meetings. And I think there was actually an incident of plagiarisms or something like this for abstracts at this meeting. Yeah. Okay, so information is distributed by both these routes that translate into scientific discovery and into, for example, the clinic. Our data shows that the information communicated at scientific meetings contain the same type of questionable, unethical writing, and it happens at similar frequencies. And so it also shows that these questionable meeting abstracts can be easily identified by software tools that we've employed that could help improve the quality of scientific meetings. Bottom line to everybody here is that when I go to the AACR meeting, my standard research is in actually cancer genomics. There's about 9,000 posters. I know that 3 to 5% of those posters have a very easy to discover ethical issue with scientific integrity just out of the gate. Okay, so you can do the number, 5% times 9,000, there's quite a few. All right, thank you very much.